We'll wait a couple of more moments before everybody starts coming. Today, you'll find that there's myself and Trisha running today's webinar. Now, you're more than welcome to keep your cameras on or off. That's totally up to you, but we will be recording today's session. And today's session will be Hiring Smart webinar. And the reason why we introduced this webinar is Trisha and I both have a found passion for people, and we believe, I guess we've been talking about hiring locally versus what's the difference between a local employee versus a virtual assistant. And some of the questions we received as well were about that. So we thought, why not do a webinar? I will ask you to pop yourself on mute if you can, please. And if you haven't already, there's Mintrix Virtual Assistant's Instagram page there and my business Integrator People Solutions. Again, my name is Maya Trepevska, and in today's session, we will have Trisha Ong also with us talking about who and why we should hire. All right. Thought I'd share the objectives of today. So we're going to talk about knowing when to hire locally, knowing when to hire a virtual assistant, and how you can actually build a team that's right for you. So whether it's you're a small business looking to hire your first staff and not sure whether we should be recruiting a virtual assistant or a staff member. I've just come from a networking session, and that was exactly the same kind of question she just had today. And I said, fantastic, you should try and join our webinar if you can. Obviously, we'll be recording today's session, so you can catch it a little bit after once we've posted the recording. Okay, take it away, Trisha. Tell us the biggest hiring mistake that we've found as we've been doing this.
All right, thank you so much for that, Maya. So good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to talk about some of the biggest hiring mistakes. So we all know that, we complain when things are busy, we complain when things aren't busy. But when things are busy, it's a really not always such a great time to be hiring, because when you do that, you're reactive, you're trying to firefight to fix a problem that's already occurred. But having that right strategy, that's where most business owners really succeed, because by choosing the right people, we're able to then leverage off that to be able to have the things in our business that actually needs to be done. So that takes us to the work that needs to be done first. And then after that, we can work out, the skills that are required, and followed by the best person for the role. And if we are to hire because we've identified these 3 key dot points, that's where the strategies really start. Over to you, Mel.
Thank you. And that's absolutely right. It's not just a strategy. You've got to think about the whole thought process. Why do I need them? How frequently will I need them? Will I need them for a short amount of time, long term? What's your goals with it? And talking about when to hire in Australia, really you've got to think about what it is, like Trisha mentioned, what it is that you need them to do. Whether it's something that you want your brand represented, and I'll tell you, Trisha is an exception to the rule when it comes to it, but it's representing your business and your brand. So knowing who can actually help do that for me and who can be a version of you, whether it's a business development manager, whether it's someone, a sales support person, whether it's an office manager. Have you then got your own office space that you would like to? There's so many different questions that we would be asking you. Why do you actually want to recruit before you actually think about it? And this is whether that particular person would need decision making or the leadership guidance. Now that could be more towards, okay, I might actually have a staff member and looking to my next 3-year strategies, I want to grow the business by X amount of people. And that person will help make those decisions, where it's a property, where it might be the next to-do list that requires physical elements of you to be there. And in positions like HR, you would need them to really understand the Australian legislation. Now, they can learn that overseas and you can do a lot of things, but then sometimes it comes more to, okay, what do you need to know? Whether it's from a banking and finance perspective, where is it that we're looking to continue? And then if there's compliance standards and then industry standards that might not necessarily being able to find them, or ChatGPT can't help you find it, or there might be reasons to why that role needs to stay locally. But tell us, Trisha, when to hire a virtual assistant.
Well, with the clients that we work with, the virtual assistants really leverage when a task doesn't physically need to be done in Australia as well. So some of these things might involve computer-based work, whether it's administration or scheduling. A lot of our potential clients, talk to us about two key challenges. One is time, and the other one is money. If small business owners are struggling with these areas, this is where we start to have a look at, okay, this for the business to be able to improve and grow, what actually needs to change. And a lot of the times it's because the business owner is wearing all the hats. So this is where we start to identify who else can do these tasks. And is it someone based here in Australia, or could it be a virtual assistant based overseas? So some of these tasks that they can do is everything from admin and scheduling through to customer service, so emails, phone calls, even marketing and back office support. So for example, tasks such as doing social media posting, replying to social media, engagement and things like that, as well as back office administration. So is there any report writing that needs to be done? Is there any data entry that needs to be done into putting information in certain CRMs or reports? Those are the things that someone such as a virtual assistant could take off your plate as well. Now, onto our next slide. We now talk about the difference, well, I guess the benefits of each side and the differences as well. So where we have Australian employees, this is where, people are on site, so physically here in Australia. So an example would be, for example, a real estate agent who needs to do home opens. I mean, yeah, there's virtual reality, but in small business, where the real estate agent is still having to go out there to, meet potential people, open up the house, those sorts of things. Things that are hands-on. So think tradies who obviously have to be recruiting people here in Australia to do the plumbing, the electrical work, installing EV chargers, those sorts of things. And lastly, client facing. So an Australian employee works best if your business, it relies on that, in-person interaction, building relationships so that we aren't transactional. Where a virtual assistant can help is in those exact same businesses. However, they have that remote nature of it. So where a real estate agent is on site doing those inspections remotely, they can be doing the computer work, updating realestate.com, anything that needs data entry. When it comes to the hands-on work, where you might see a plumber on site, behind the scenes, every job that plumber does has some sort of administrative task to update their work management system, such as ServiceMate, and the operational support to be liaising with access and other things. So next slide, thank you. And over to you, Mail.
Thank you. And when we talk about how an Australian employee can support the business, as you mentioned, so whether it's a virtual assistant or an Australian employee, sometimes it's more about, like, for example, going to networking events where they can actually be that physicality for that particular business and supporting them build those long-term strategies. From a virtual assistant, absolutely, you could do it, but it might just be that you're constantly looking at them on the computer screen. But essentially, when they're here, when they're in Australia, they're looking at how can I help that particular person. It might be going that one step extra by supporting that person face to face as well. It does also strengthen the reputation of the business, knowing sometimes the Australian brand is there and that they feel more confident. And for both of us, Trisha and myself, we work with any business that works, whether it's remotely or locally, in terms of providing that support. But it's more about what do they want actually out of their business. If it's a telco company, for example, they might need that physicality of that particular person to strengthen the brand for their customers. I've worked with a bit of drug and alcohol rehab centres, so you can't necessarily have that virtual assistant do the front end and work with businesses that way, but they can definitely support from the back end. Sometimes it's about the retention of the customer, the clientele. Each case by case is like there's multiple times where I've said to some of my clients, hey, you probably aren't ready for a local person just yet because you haven't put systems or processes in place. But the next best thing would be hiring that virtual assistant to get you planned, get you sorted, and still support you from the back end. But then once we've got it settled, that Australian employee can actually help you do the face-to-face, the nitty-gritty details that can't necessarily be done because your VA's overseas. And sometimes it's immediate problem solving, like the customer might say, hey, I need someone from your business to come now. And you're like, well, okay, great. I have someone that can actually come and do that for you. And then looking at the collaboration when you do have that one-to-one ability face to face. So Tricia, tell us a little bit more again about what virtual assistants, some examples that we've used.
Yeah, 100%. So thanks, Maya, for that. So what we want to share with everyone today is the way that we work collaboratively together, in the sense that, it's not that, we're replacing Australians with people, virtual assistants. What we're trying to show is that businesses need to benefit from working hand in hand with both of us so that we're able to provide human resources on both sides, whether they're physically in person here in Australia or with a virtual assistant. And so I guess if we were to define the role virtual assistant, it essentially refers to someone who works remotely, not so much AI in the virtual sense, but we use AI tools as well. But a virtual assistant is someone who's working in a different location and able to execute tasks for your business. And these tasks include things that are done from behind the computer. The top 5 that I see day in, day out with a lot of our service-based business owners include these: the email management, the invoicing, CRM updates, social media, and data entry. In a lot of cases, what I find is actually the business owner, if you're a small business, you're wearing all the hats still, and you're still doing a lot of these tasks yourself. In larger businesses, your Australian admin team or, in other industries such as real estate or trades, you might find that there's operational staff who are doing these roles in Australia. That's where we need to be upskilling our people so that through integrated people solutions and through your business, if you're upskilling people and being able to get the most out of your people, we can bring them into more client-facing roles, more sales positions. So it really helps leverage that person's capacity and I guess value that it brings to the business as well. And these are all the lower level activities: email management, filing things away, categorizing things into mailboxes, or processing emails, such as when an invoice comes in, what do you do with it? When a customer inquiry comes in and it's an FAQ, what do you do with that? So that's all email management. When it comes to invoicing, this is where we help businesses put in a streamlined process of what happens when a work order is completed, and there's now a process to draft, click the next button, make sure it's drafted, double check certain parts, labor, materials, and then send that off, whether that gets approved by the next person up the food chain to then go through to the client. But that would be a basic invoicing process. CRM update. So CRM stands for customer relationship management. So this is where you have a software to be able to help track where your inquiries are and things like that. So that's data entry work that needs to be continuously updated. And if I go back to my real estate example or my trades example, those are the work orders that we're putting in. Those are all the notes for each client, whether you're doing appraisals or whether you're putting other pieces of client information into a system. Social media, this is where, creating Canva slides like this, creating posts on social media, Instagram, Facebook, as well as creating reels and things like that, replying to messages on social media as well, adding highlights and stories. If a business owner is still doing a lot of these tasks, it's very time consuming for the business owner who should be focused on client-facing work and higher level work. And lastly, data entry. you'll be surprised at how much we type each and every day, the amount of hours, and it's the fractional administrative tasks. You know, oh, it only takes me 2 seconds to type that in, or it only takes me 1 minute to do this. And that context switching is what is impacting on productivity and efficiency in someone's business. So if you were able to delegate many of those things, your Australian labour resources and the business owner is then able to focus on those high level things. Next slide, thank you. So let's go back to some of those. Oh, I skipped a slide, sorry. So let's now talk about how do we even start delegating? When we start delegating, this is where, you know, we want to start with the lowest hanging fruit. Have we heard that saying, the lowest hanging fruit? And what that means is it's easy to pick at that. And once we start to get a bit of momentum, that's where we really see a lot more value. So we start by delegating the small things, you know, those follow-ups, the invoicing. What are the current irritations in that business owner's day-to-day? Is it that, I'm not sending invoices out on time, which results in people not paying me on time? Or am I sending quotes out but not doing a follow-up, so I'm wasting all my time quoting that it actually doesn't convert? You know, these are all the irritations that business owners have, and that's where we can start saying, all right, this is how we take steps towards improving that. And the results, well, the benefits speak for themselves. You save your time because your Australian labour is really focused on the high value work. You improve your efficiency because you reduce that context switching that I talked about between step 1 to step 2. And you have better customer service so that you're able to work closely with you know, your clients to really work out how you can add more value and talk to them more as well, because you're not bogging down in the trenches trying to get back to every email and respond to every inquiry. And it ultimately results in focusing on growth over time as well. On our next slide, this is where some of the common mistakes occur. So, you know, I've seen it time and time again. If people hire too soon, you're hiring before you actually are ready for it. What it results in is it can cause a huge strain on the business, whether it's from a cash flow perspective or a mental load of, you know, thinking, oh, I don't think tomorrow, like, I'm going to work an extra 3 hours tonight to make sure that my team member has something to do. So hiring too soon, there's implications on that. Hiring for the wrong role as well. So if on one of our very first slides, we talked about, you know, identifying what is the actual reason that we need to hire someone. And that's where integrated people solutions as well as Mintrix, that's where we come in. We come in to have a chat about what is the actual role look like. That's literally step 1. We have to find the problem before we give a solution. We've got to work out what's that, I guess, the root cause of you know, that invoice not being sent on time. What is the root cause of a task not being done on time? Once we find that out, we work out where the gap is, and we then work out how to recruit for that right role. Another common mistake is doing everything yourself. So wearing all the hats. As small businesses grow, this is one of the main things that I see. It's not that you don't want to bring people in to do things for you or with you, but you feel that, oh, it's just a small thing. And while my business is growing, I'm just going to bootstrap it, which means that I'm just going to do it myself. But what actually results is that business owner is now the marketing person, the HR person, the operations person, the technician, the person asking for Google reviews at the end, and the person doing all the data entry or the client work, and every other hat you can think of. Oh, the IT support person too. So before you get to that, that's where you need to sit down and work out what are the areas that someone else could really help you with. And lastly, let's talk about the opposite of hiring too soon. It's waiting too long. So if you're waiting too long to do it, it results in you wearing all the hats. And then you get into this, unfortunately, negative mindset of but it's too hard. It's just faster if I do it myself. So if some of these common phrases or sayings are resonating with some of the audience, these are the things that we'd love to start a dialogue and have a conversation about what we need to do to help your business take the next step forward and move that needle so that we're able to help you in your business journey. Next slide, over to you, Mail.
Thank you. I might just add a couple of things that have recently occurred through the journeys that I've been going through, and how we also look at, when and both Trisha and I generally have these conversations, is what does it actually look like? Do we have a hiring plan? And I like to put my clients through an exercise really towards, okay, but what is it what you need? Is it you're trying to hire them and you're just replacing the particular role because I've got a head count? Because obviously you need to make sure you've got a head count there for it. What's the budget to onboard someone? Is it something like I've only got $50,000 to have that particular person over a 12-month period, or I've got 100,000, or I've got 150,000? Really, that's part of the first kind of strategies to start thinking, okay, the instantaneous, you might be paying more very short term because you haven't thought it through. So really it's clarifying those particular points. And like you said, waiting too long. I've had clients that generally say, oh, I'm just going to onboard them. Yeah, but what does that actually look like? We've seen, they'll just they generally do the hand gestures. They'll figure it out. It's actually no. Whether you do hire someone locally or you do hire a virtual assistant, the same pain points are going to have to happen to make sure you're getting the right person for yourself. I think that's where with all the common mistakes, it ends up being thinking about, okay, what am I trying to do with somebody? And when we talk about the trap is, should you hire at all? Like we said, it could be the reasons to, it's just easier to have someone. Yes, but having someone, you've got to be mindful. Can I nurture them and support their opportunity to grow, opportunity to have a successful induction, opportunity to make sure that they're running your business, again, whether it's a local or a virtual assistant? And then common things that I've heard, oh, they didn't work out. Well, why did they not work out? Because you're actually not giving them the time, the energy, the effort to support your business. Isn't that right, Trisha?
Yeah, 100%. And it's all about, I guess, getting the most out of your people. So, just because you put someone in a role, you don't sort of just, it's like anything, it's the time and energy that you invest in your people. You have to take them through the education. They have to learn your systems, learn your preferences, so that they can really add value the right way into your business.
Yes. And I think it's even from a point where whether they are helping you from an invoicing perspective, it's how do they like you to take that photo, send that photo, being able to upload that photo. Are they following your system process? That is not going to happen seamlessly unless you've put a process in place. And we talk about systems and process consistently, and making sure they've got the confidence that whoever you've put into that role, be it locally or virtually, that they're there to help your business, but you need to give them the initial, whether it's the 30, 60 or 90 days support for them to really get into your business processes, maybe even your thought process towards the end of it. And by the time you know it, they are actually supporting you the way that you need them to. And like we said, Trisha mentioned not long ago, are they actually solving the problem? Are we just putting in a problem and a Band-Aid fix on top of another Band-Aid fix? Again, short-term might work. I've got a situation where a staff member resigned and this client didn't have notice periods, for example. And so the person left that same day. Put the business in a situation, and the immediate response was, okay, we need to hire someone yesterday. And I said, I can understand the pressure that you're in, but what are we actually trying to do with this particular situation? Again, is it a Band-Aid fix? What are we doing short term? What's your strategy? If we can't find someone for another 6 to 8 weeks, what is your plan? I can help you do the thinking, but I need that particular business owner or the manager to think, what am I actually going to do with that? what problem are they solving? And a solution that I found is another staff member can go into that particular role. And actually what happens is from a production perspective, putting them into the sales role is actually going to help not only that person to learn, but give them an opportunity to fix the front end while they fix the back end. And that's where those kind of solutions will come through those kind of conversations. And the biggest one I always look at, someone can actually do it better than you. Sometimes, like Trisha was mentioning, wearing all the hats, we think we can do it better, we can do it smarter, we can do it faster, but it's actually taking us away from the core principles to why you started the business. And then, like we said, it shouldn't be a reactive process. Think about it. I want to ask you, put it in the chat box. Do you actually have a business plan or a strategy on what your business would look like in 12, 24, 36 months? What does that actually look like? Does it involve? And that's the kind of thought processes you need to start thinking about. Can I then bring a virtual assistant into my business, or do I want to hire locally? Have I spoken to my accountant? Have I spoken to whoever that group is to make sure that I've got the right people in my business to support my business growth? Let's talk about examples. We kind of mentioned them before, but let's talk the electrical business. We've got one here that's one of our mutual client here, and where they've used both of our services. So you've got from an Australian team, there are electricians, and also they're looking at apprentices. So what kind of guidance and support do we then look at giving? So the conversation is, okay, electrician, great, we can recruit because now they're getting busier and busier. So then they might need an apprentice to join because they want to upskill someone to be in their business long-term strategy. What do they actually need? Like I said, there is so much that ChatGPT can give you, and so many things that you can do as a business owner yourself, but really people that know, because we work in this environment all the time. Can you do an apprenticeship on site versus do they need to consistently go to school? A lot of business owners want to look at having apprentices locally and have the apprenticeship school continue going around wherever that particular staff member is. When it comes to the Australian team, you also need to think about what else do I need? It's not just the wages. It's not just about the superannuation and everything else that goes with it, but we will need a car. So what does that investment look like? So again, strategizing that whole process of what that's going to be. What happens if they're going to have sick leave or annual leave? Being educated towards that perspective. Tell us a little bit about this particular situation where virtual assistants have helped.
Yeah, so in a lot of the trade-based electrical businesses that we work with, as you've already mentioned, Australian teams involve the electricians on the tools, the apprentices, obviously the business owner as well. And then on the virtual assistant side, this is where we can get people in administration, in marketing, and in finance. Usually those three broad categories will have a combination, so your marketing person can do a bit of admin as well. Your person who's uploading things into your Xero file can be, or invoicing and follow-ups can also do your ServiceMate administration work. ServiceMate being one of the platforms that many electrical businesses use in Australia. So it just depends on, what is the business currently, what tasks and outcomes the business owner and Australian staff is currently responsible for, and what can we work out can be delegated so that the high level, high value in-person work is done by the Australian team, and the virtual assistant team is looking after all the back end and working as a synergy like that. That is where we see businesses thriving.
Let's talk about the professional services. As you can see here, we've got some lovely faces and smiling faces, but and it could in this particular picture we've got one of our mutual clients as well, Ristic, who have been around for a period of time, and they are the ones that generally, like we said, are real estate agents. We wanted to give you an example of that, but essentially could be consultants like myself going to particular people's businesses. It could be people that are in a manufacturing company need to create particular products for that particular business. It could be a whole wealth of retail employees. There is a breadth of list of positions that really would need that face-to-face interaction. And it might need to be that clientele continuously having to go. So they might be the ones that are going out there to do all the face-to-face networking, supporting, business development, whole string of things. But essentially, they can't do that alone. Sometimes they say, oh, I'm too busy to put that quote out for that particular customer. Okay, so what can we do to support that particular business in having that? So that's when Tricia and the team will come up with certain tasks. So tell us through that.
Yeah, definitely. So to give you a couple of examples, one of the clients that we're working with at the moment, he's a consultant in the waterproofing industry, and they have to write a number of reports for building and construction compliance. So all that documentation, like you still need the consultant to physically go out there and inspect properties and to give their expert advice. But the paperwork, the formatting a Word document, or making sure the fonts are the same size, all that is administrative work, and even inserting pictures into the right spaces in a Word document and things like that. Some things can be automated to AI tasks, especially if they are repetitive, but where you've got more one-off tasks or you've got data coming in from multiple channels, our virtual assistant team are really good at creating reporting, updating different CRM groups, everything from, we use Monday.com internally and go higher level, but all the CRMs, whether it's Zoho, HubSpot, whatever it is, there's a lot of data that is passing in various places, as well as having to categorize that data. So as an example, in my business, I've got a lot of contacts from various places over the years, but perhaps I have electrical clients that I might want to group in my CRM in a particular way. So when I send an email about electrical business owners, that one's quite targeted. And then you might have one for trades, and you might have one for you would be tagging and batching and grouping your CRM in particular ways. Those are some of the tasks that a virtual assistant can help with. In amongst calendar management, so as an example, for my business, a lot of I take anywhere from 3 to 8 meetings a day, and my virtual assistant team are sending there's automated reminders that go out prior to a meeting, as well as making sure that I'm prepared for every meeting I go into. Notes are taken at the end of every meeting, and follow-up emails are sent as well. And all of that information also ends up in a CRM. So for many professional services, real estate agents, and consultants, this is where virtual assistants can help with all the heavy lifting when it comes to administrative tasks.
Yeah, and I can absolutely vouch for how great the team at Mintrix team are in supporting that. There is those little things like, I had a picture of someone and they looked frightened. And Trisha said, are you really going to put that kind of, well, that was me trying to emphasize what I was looking for. And then the team found a simple picture to replace that, rather than me having to spend that time, the effort trying to look for that particular picture. I wanted to share how we could help our integrated people solutions. So, and funny, a friend of mine mentioned, what is it that HR do? And HR is so broad. And how do you explain all the people aspects? And it's not just the hiring and the firing. I always say it's everything else in between, but really the recruitment, it's the pre-recruitment that comes with it. What's your strategy for that whole process? And that's why I asked that question more about what's your business plan? Do you actually have something like that someone like myself could work with you on and say, okay, what is it in terms of people? Understand that you've spoken to someone in terms of what it is that you want your business to achieve, but how are you planning to achieve that? Have you actually thought about what that looks like? What do those tasks look like? Putting strategies in place of, okay, what kind of things do we want? Do we want to focus on the people and well-being space? Because for some businesses, that locality and the well-being, and now especially with psychosocial hazard laws that are coming into play, business owner needs to focus on, okay, I've got an employee, what do I need to do to make them satisfied as best as I can as an employer? That's not a common thread that people generally tend to go with. We'll provide structure. Okay, you've got, say, a flatline organizational structure, or do you want to put spaces where before it comes to you as the owner or the manager, is what kind of steps do you want? Who can do parts of your business? I created a funnel. Basically, normally you'll see the triangle hierarchy, and it'll be the CEO, and then it'll be the management, and then it'll be the staff. And I said, well, why don't you flip that around? Why don't you actually look at how much more of your staff will funnel through, and then you only do the high level, what needs to be done, rather than focusing. Like you said, take all the hats in play and I'll do it better than anyone else. We don't want that mentality. We want to be able to change that structure, think about what it is that you are wanting to do. And obviously then it comes to compliance. Do you have the right contracts in place? Again, situations where people have contracts. When were they last reviewed? Who actually created them? And this particular client said, oh, I'd grab some from ChatGPT and I'd grab some from here. And I was like, great. But you know what? That's actually not covering what you need. And it ended up putting the business in situations where they had, this person needs to resign. They're a small business and they said 4 weeks notice. And then it created so many different caveats for them. And something like a situation where they had no fuel policy or no company vehicle policy. And this person we ended up finding that they were using it for personal use because there was no policy in place. And they did about $2,000 in the space of 7 days. So there's those kind of things that we would put in place to make sure that the business is compliant. And Tricia, what about Mintrix? Can you tell us a little bit about how the team can help? I know we've shared a little bit more, but where you're focusing and where you want to go with the team?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm located in Melbourne. I've got a team over in the Philippines, and for every client, we do a full recruitment batch. So once I work out with the client what sort of skill sets and tasks they're looking to delegate to a virtual assistant, that turns into our job scope, and then we go and recruit that in the Philippine job market. We then shortlist it down to a number of applicants, the interviewing process through to pre-screening and personality profiling. Then the client actually makes a selection on their virtual assistant, which is a real human, not AI. The word virtual means that they're just working remotely. And so as that's our virtual assistant recruitment end to end would be from working out what the job scope is through to actually selecting someone. And unlike other agencies, we actually let the clients make a decision based on our shortlist. And the reason for that is we don't believe in a place and forget type model. We want to actually be with you to make sure that the onboarding and the support is there so that if you've got teething challenges along the way, for example, such as, it might be, I asked my virtual assistant to do this, but they didn't understand it or they did something else instead. That's where we jump in and we're able to just help bridge that gap to provide some of that foundational skills training to show a little bit more initiative as well. So maybe rather than saying, hey, on that particular slide, what picture would you like? It's like, oh, I can find a picture like this or a picture like this. So giving me an option between choice A and choice B allows me to make that decision faster. As business owners, we're good at making decisions, but if you ask an open-ended question, it takes longer to respond with an open-ended answer. So that's some of that support that we provide along the way as well.
Cool, thank you for sharing. We're towards the end of our webinar, but what I've created is a smart hiring blueprint. So with that is conversations obviously that we've had today, but a lot more in-depth context of the recruitment process and how you can actually use that to your gain as a business owner, and even give you some thought process. You might not be recruiting today, but you might be recruiting in 12, 18, 24 months time. But it's that starting to think that thought process. Why? What is it the benefit if I do look at going down this particular route versus the VA route? So we've got that. If you want to scan to download, that will take you straight to the download space. And really, I'm here to answer any type of questions, and we'll go through a question section shortly, but my contact details are there in my email address, which you'll also get a copy of after today's session too. And Trisha, tell us a little bit about the contacts for Mintrix.
Awesome. So thank you so much to everyone who has joined along today. Our next slide will be a question and answers section. So get your questions ready. In the meantime, I've dropped into the chat box our resource page. So that's the Integrated People Solutions resources, as well as the Mintrix Virtual Assistants free resources, or you can scan the QR code for your ease and convenience. So a couple of the free resources we have ready to download is 100 tasks that a virtual assistant can help you with. So if you're struggling to get onto your delegation journey, if you feel like you're still the marketing person and the IT person and the salesperson and the operations person all wrapped up in one, start to have a think about how you can start to offload some of those things off your plate so that you can focus on those higher level tasks. We're also on all your social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So give us a follow. And if you actually found really great content and value from today's webinar, we'd also love a Google review about our free webinar if that's not too much to ask. But for now, over to you guys for a couple of questions. How can we best help? Does anyone have a question to kick us off? Excellent. I see a couple of people typing, which is fantastic. We'll give everyone a couple of minutes. And Maya, while we're waiting for questions to come in, maybe I can ask you one. What type of business is, tell me some industries that you're working with at the moment.
I love helping people, as you can tell. And for the people that know me, it's all about giving back to community and support. I've been spending a lot of time through NDIS businesses. Interestingly enough, as I keep saying, is funeral homes. You would never know that everyone needs some sort of support. So I'm not shy and afraid for that. Manufacturing quite a bit of. I do spend a bit of time in that. NDIS has been fantastic because not only are you giving back to community, you're finding a lot about how you can also further support, not just supporting them, which has been fantastic. There's carpentry, I mean, the building industries. I'm not shy of any kind of industry. I've been in boating as well. So really, whatever the clientele generally needs, I can support.
Amazing. And I might just actually throw a couple of links into the chat as well. Oh, Alma's got a question. Yes. Revenue-wise, is there a minimum I should be making before hiring or getting a virtual assistant? Rather than revenue, every business is different. I would look at more expenses. So a virtual assistant through us, to give you an annual number, is approximately $16,000 per annum. So if you're looking at budgeting purposes, that's probably a good place to start. So it's less on your revenue and more because everyone's profitability changes depending on what your, obviously cost of goods sold and expenses are. But yeah, if you're looking at a number, 16,000 a year is your starting point.
I probably have a question for you, Trisha, because this is when people do ask that question is, I'm not ready for a full-time virtual assistant. And I just want them to help here and there. I guess talk us through, because that's generally, like you said, it is worth the investment of per annum and building towards that. How does that work with you in your business?
Yeah, so in terms of part-timers versus full-timers, we normally find that it's really hard to retain unless people are, and it's hard to really show that value as well. The reason for it is if you're only giving someone 5 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours per week, and they're seeking longer term, someone to build a relationship with and to really help in the business, you'll find that that person is seeking work elsewhere. And then they're freelancing for other companies as well. And then it's only a matter of time until they find that full-time role with another company or another agency. And it's really difficult for us to retain it, or they end up working for about 2 or 3 different companies to be able to, get enough hours. And what I normally educate our clients on is although your virtual assistant has capacity at the start, it's not for long, because over time they learn your preferences, they learn your systems, they make suggestions on things that you can do more efficiently, and they help to systemize your business and document your processes, and the list goes on. And that is one of the reasons why we've got the free resource called 100 tasks a virtual assistant can help with, because there are 100 things. If you think that you don't have enough work to delegate, I challenge you to flick through that book and reach out if you want a one-on-one chat about if you think that you might not have enough work to give someone for the 38, 40 odd hours.
I think that's what we've commonly talked about, because there is always work to do. And you think, well, why don't you just delegate that? And then you're like, oh, yeah, I can do that. And it's just getting that, I guess, that mindset shift to be able to be like, they're there to help you. They're there to make your life a little bit easier or a lot easier. Depends on, I guess, people tend to be there's a saying, but they're their own burden, right? They're holding each other back from growing from their business. So that way, having a virtual assistant and having them full time, it ends up being worth that long-term strategy. We've got
Excellent.
another question here from Lisa. Hi, as a sole trader who is at the point of hiring, is there a best practice, or who should I go to, such as Seek? I have started to look at this and the costs associated from for time. I'm looking, two part-times. Great question. There is multiple platforms out there. It's also making sure that you have systems. So you could have one platform like we use, and you can have multiple different free websites, or also looking at, you can do the paid. So there's got free job boards, and then there's got premium job boards, and Seek falls into one of those premium job boards. The cost of Seek, I think the other day I did one recruitment, and it was for a basic standard was $700 and something, where they used to be about $200-300 once upon a time. There's those components. You really need to know, it's not about the job platforms. It's actually, what are you doing to attract business candidates? So, for example, when I recruit, people say, your job ad interested me in applying. And it wasn't about the content of that job. You can imagine, we've got such a number of people into our webinar today. How do I choose, or how do you particularly choose that one particular candidate? What is it that draws that candidate to you? And I always talk about, people will apply and they don't put a cover letter. I generally scrap them out straight away because they can't do basic understanding, right? What is it that they're emphasizing when they're showing? What is their passion to why they want to come to you? It's what attracts you to them and them to you. It's almost like a relationship. So thinking about, okay, those job platforms can absolutely help me, but if I'm not sharing the right message, well, then you can post 3 months worth of job posts and get below average candidates. You've just got to be mindful of what you're looking to do from there. I hope that helps with that answer. We've got another.
The next one with Arma, I might jump in here. So Arma says she's currently stuck with whether she should hire an editor, a VA editor for short form video, or just hire a junior videographer to do filming and editing. I'm not sure what my question is, but that's your current dilemma. Awesome. Well, at least we know what the problem is. That's the first step. But if we were to dig a little bit deeper, this is where I'd love to ask you more questions just in relation to like why. So obviously you're busy and you can identify that you now need to start delegating. Now is to work out why. Are you looking to delegate so that you can do something else instead? Are you looking to delegate so you can fit more in the workday? Are you looking to retain some of the work that you enjoy doing? This is where, I'd start asking questions around, well, if you enjoy the filming and editing, would you continue that? If you enjoy filming only and not editing, maybe your answer lies there. But if you enjoy the filming, maybe the videographer is not the way to go, and delegating some of your administration or some of your follow-ups, invoicing, quoting, any tasks such as those that could be delegated instead. So sometimes there's multiple answers to a question. And I think it all starts with identifying what is the core why behind what you're trying to do, so that we can identify what would be an accurate solution. Over to you, Maya. Do you have anything to add to that one?
Yes. Well, that was with the next question tying in about the contractor versus permanent or casual roles. Generally, we look to recruit from a permanent basis. Casual roles look, again, another question of why are you hiring that particular casual versus needing the contractor? So similarly, what Trisha just mentioned is why are we looking to do what we're doing? And if someone's going to, again, come from a casual perspective, I wouldn't recommend generally recruiting a casual. They come and go, and again, they're not committed. When you're looking for a permanent person to join your business, you know you're going to give them a long-term plan. With contractors, it is no different to a service agreement that you would go out and, I'm sure you've met a lot of people throughout your time, and then how we work is even we subcontract to each other. So Trisha might have, from a virtual assistant perspective, for myself as HR, we might get a business advisor in or a coach, or everyone then subcontracts differently. I've got currently one of our clients is also from a health and safety, they need health and safety. So we've brought in somebody else subcontracting. It's really, those can happen again, whether it's a long-term or a short-term strategy, but you need to find what is your right breadth and can that go consistently, because we don't want to do the short-term recruit. We want to do long-term strategy, long-term growth.
Yeah. And so keep outcome based, like, what is the outcome you're trying to find a solution for, and then the pros and the cons in relation to that particular outcome as well.
Yes. And then any other questions? Welcome to also speak as well if you want, rather than typing.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll continue with the messages. And Maya, I did try to find your Google review link, but I couldn't find it because I think you got to be logged in to get it. So maybe drop that into the
Oh
chat box
yes,
if you
I will
can.
share it. Thank
And
you, will do.
yeah, and while you're doing that, I'll see what else comments we have. So Priyanka said that she's downloaded the ebook. Thank you. And you can already see how many tasks that you need help with. Amazing. We can definitely have a chat about that. So again, I think I said it earlier, low-hanging fruit. What are the quick things that you can either systemize, delegate, automate? What can you get off your plate? Less is more at times. I've said that a couple of times today as well. Less is more. So we all are in business and we all want to just do more and more and more, because that's what's going to get us to level up, be better, improve. And yeah, next is to work out what are the tasks or outcomes that will actually move your business forward. Alma says you currently have 7-day turnaround. No judgment. What that means is that you are slaying it. You are kicking goals because you have so many clients looking to work with you. All we have to do is now work out on systemizing the business so that you're able to get people to help you. So the outcome is you want to have a 7-day turnaround. The outcome is someone else needs to do something else to be able to have that solution. So we just got to weigh up the pros and cons of the two options you had, or is there an option 3 that we haven't considered yet? Amazing. And so May's just drops her link for the Google review. So we'd really appreciate it if you could smash both our links and leave us a review, something about how the webinar was amazing. Or something that you've learned today would be super helpful as well. But if we don't have any other questions, Maya, did you want to wrap up?
Yes, so thank you everyone for your time. We really much appreciate the time, the energy, and the effort. There's a lot of obviously resources that are out there, but we like to say we work locally to try and support everybody in the business. We've been in small business for such a period of time, so we understand the hurdles, the wearing all the hats. I think there's a video of me wearing all the hats with Trisha sometime last year. But essentially, what do we do? And then how do we change that in your business? I too have a 15-minute free conversation that you can have. Just pick up the phone and give me a call so we can start looking at strategies for your business. But thank you. We will share this webinar recording after today's session. Does anyone have any more questions?
I think that's about it on the questions, which is awesome. I've dropped our emails into the chat box as well, so feel free to drop us a line and say hello after today. We'd love to hear from you guys. Positive feedback, areas of improvement, how we could perhaps help your business as well, how we could collaborate on future webinars with you as well. We'd love to hear all of it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.